Stitching You and More. I'm Amanda. You can find me on Ravelry as Little Panda 518. This is going to be episode 1 and I'm super excited. I've been watching podcasts for a little while now and I've noticed there's a lot more knitting instead of crocheting. And my passion is crocheting. I knit a little bit, but I crochet a lot more. So I figured, why not start my own podcast? And since I do a little bit more than just knitting and crocheting crafty wise, I figured Stitching You and More would work and, just kind of fit everything I do. So starting with that, let's go ahead and get started. And I actually have notes since it's, my first one. Let's see where to find me. We're going to have a group on Ravelry. It'll be Stitching You and More. I will post a link to the group on the blog. You can find the blog at stitchingyouandmore.blogspot.com, and you can find the links to everywhere else, which at this point is just going to be Instagram, and if I add a Facebook page or something else down the line, I will definitely add that link in. So I kind of figured I'd start off with a little bit of a recap of kind of what I've done kind of this last year. 2014 was kind of a big year for me. I made a ton of stuff. I think when I calculated up, I made about 136 different projects, give or take a few of not having them tracked in Ravelry, or just not remembering what all I made. If you want a more detailed list, you can find that on the blog. I'm going to have a separate post for it coming out soon. So that's kind of, last year was definitely a whirlwind. I started doing my first booth with my family. We have a little hobby of ours that we are named Stitch Together 4G. The 4G stands for 4 generations. We have my grandma, my mom, my sister and I, and also my sister's daughter who's learning to crochet. So it's kind of cool when we can get out and have a booth, and so far we've only had one booth where all 4 generations have been present. And then the other booths kind of throughout the rest of the year. I've done a couple on my own, and my sister has also done one in Illinois. That's another thing, is we're 4 generations, but we span 3 states. My grandma, my sister, and my sister's daughter are all in Illinois. My mom is in Tennessee, and of course, I'm here in the great state of Arkansas. So we've got tons of stuff going on with that. I'm looking forward to having some more booths here in Arkansas this year. I have a new job as of this year, so vacation time and traveling have kind of been cut down, so I haven't been able to make it to Illinois with my sister to do booths together. But that's definitely something that we're going to work on this next year, hopefully with some more vacation time and time being able to travel a little bit more. So that's kind of the get to know me. My mom taught me to crochet probably when I was 7 or 8. It was kind of our way of being able to spend time together. So I've crocheted many years, kind of bad with math. I'm 26 now, crocheted since I was like 7 or 8, so I don't know, we're probably thinking 18, 19 years. But I really got back into it about 2 years ago. That's kind of when the guest bedroom turned into a yarn stash room and kind of craft room, and the yarn has taken over. It has taken over an entire room. It's kind of crazy. I love it. It's always nice to be able to go shop in my craft room instead of having to run out to the store. But sometimes, that happens because you have to have just that one color for a project and you don't have the right shade. So of course, there's always those last minute emergency runs to a craft store, or sometimes, Walmart, because it's just a couple minutes down the road. So that's a lot of fun, and I'm super excited. I spend a ton of time organizing and reorganizing, and I think at this point all of my yarn is sorted by weight. I kind of know that's kind of a question that comes up a little bit in different podcasts sometimes. You know, do you sort your stash by color? Do you sort it by weight? Do you sort it by brand? And I'm kind of on the weight right now because when I'm working on a project or thinking of a pattern, it always calls for a specific weight of yarn. So I can go to like a specific bin and just kind of dig through my yarn and see what I've got going on there. So kind of speaking about digging through yarn, I figured we could start talking about my current works in progress. I have quite a few, and I am going to say I am mainly a crocheter. My works in progress right now may not show it, but I did probably about 98% of my Christmas crocheting was crocheting, and I've kind of hit that selfish crafting time before I start getting ready for booths. And there's been a couple projects that I really wanted to work on, and they just happen to be knitting. So I've got a couple knitting projects today as well. But going forward, they're going to mainly be crocheting because that's kind of where my fun stuff falls. So I'm gonna start off by my longest languishing work in progress, I think. So we'll pull up this bag. This bag my mom actually knit for me when my sister was pregnant with her second son. I don't know, I was probably 16, 17, so this bag's going on about 10 years old. It's kind of hard to believe that, but it's my go-to craft bag. And she knitted, I believe it is a Karen Simply Soft yarn, possibly is kind of what it feels like. It's been a little while since my mom made it, but I am currently working on a corner to corner. It is Bernat, not real sure how to pronounce it. It's different a couple times from different people. And it is in the jacquard in the Morning Glory colorway. That is the variegated here at the bottom. So I've kind of got that going on. And then I got the yarn on clearance, and I didn't have enough for a whole blanket, so I'm going to add in some white stripes. And that's a Bernat yarn as well. So I'm just going to kind of go in between those two. It's kind of a mindless crochet, so I can work on it while I'm watching TV. So it's just kind of, I always typically have a baby blanket going on. I don't have any children, don't plan on ever having children, but my friends apparently always like to get pregnant. So at least, I normally have at least one friend pregnant at any given time. So I like to keep blankets going so I can always have a present to give for them. Because I love giving handmade presents over something that's store-bought. It's just a little bit more special. Let's see. Referring back to my notes here real quick. My next one, we're going to pull up this bag. This kind of goes in the stitching more part of this. I've gotten back into sewing some more. My mom came to visit for Christmas. And of course, I had to have some help making one of my Christmas presents. My husband wanted a long house coat. My husband's 6 feet tall, and for the life of me, I could not find a store-bought house coat anywhere that was long enough for him. So I called my mom, and I'm like, hey Mom, let's make a house coat for Christmas for Randy. So she packed up bins and brought her serger and her thread, and we used my sewing machine. So we were crafty all over break while my mom was here for a week. It was awesome. I sewed all of the parts of the bag. So we have the kind of red and black flowers going on, and then the inside, it almost looks like chain stitches. I don't know how well you can see it here, but it is red, black, and kind of gray. And I thought it was kind of cool because it looks like, you know, when you started foundation chain, it kind of looks like that. And then of course my sweet mommy put in the zipper for me because I'm still a beginning sewer. We'll leave it at that. So the zipper was a little bit intimidating, so my mom went ahead and did that for me. So she was pretty awesome. So in this bag, I am working on the V-neck topper. This is my first crocheted sweater that I'm making myself. I'm not real far along. with this pattern, you start on the back panel. So I have the back. It uses front post double crochet. I'm using Karen Simply Soft charcoal, and so it might be a little difficult to see, but by using the front post, you kind of get the look of a knitted rib. So I really like that. So I'm not very far along, but I have started opening up for the sleeve here. This one's gonna have really long sleeves. They're kind of the opening, so the sleeve is open from about here all the way up to my shoulder. So I just kind of started on that. So this is kind of my first big crochet project of 2015. So I don't really have a whole lot to say because I'm not super far into it, but I did learn, I had to look up how to do a double slip stitch. I had never done that before, so that was definitely kind of you learn something new every day. So I'm really liking this, and Karen Simply Soft yarn is probably my favorite go-to yarn right now. So that's probably about almost the majority of my projects I work on for any kind of garment or blanket. I do use the Karen Simply Soft. I have gobs of it. I can't even remember all the colorways I have. There's a ton of them. Okay, so that's my crocheting projects right now. As you can tell, you know, one's kind of will go in the gift bin present area, and then the sweater will of course be for me because that's something I've really wanted to work on for a while. So my other projects are knitting. So if you're kind of more of the crocheter and not so much knitting, you know, feel free to go ahead and skip past or stick around and, you know, see what's on my needles. So this one, if you can't tell, I love pandas and my favorite color is teal. This bag is a Rainstorm Studios bag. This is the first project bag that I purchased off of Etsy. I found Rainstorm Studios through my friend's podcast, Southern Girl Knits. Tish is in my local knitting group, and she started a podcast for knitting, and that's how I found Rainstorm. So let me tell you about this. So this was supposed to be a Christmas gift, and as you can tell, it's, you know, in January. We're going on about the second week of January, and I'm probably only about 7 or so inches into it. This is the TGV shawl. Let me see who it's by. Okay, so I didn't write down who it's by, but if you go to my Ravelry page, I have a project page set up for it. It is a paid pattern, and it's really nice. This is the first big knitting project that I've started in a long while. I am using, it's done roving yarns, Autumn Bliss hand painted, and this is also my first yarn that I've bought at our local yarn shop. Most of the time, well, not most of the time, all the other time, I've purchased yarn from big box stores that are mainly acrylic. So I thought for a Christmas gift, this is going to be my sister. She does know about it. I joked with her she may get it by her birthday. Her birthday's in February. So I've got a little bit of time to kind of get this finished up and get it mailed off to Illinois. But orange is her favorite color, and when I saw this, my first thought was my sister. So, sis, if you're watching, I'm this far. So yeah, it's a 100% superwash merino. So she'll be able to easily throw it in the washer and dryer. You know, if the kids spill something on it, or I don't know, you get it dirty, it's easily washable. And I'm really loving how that yarn is working up. So my next project is something that I have been dying to work on, but have been really intimidated for about the last year. So I bought this yarn over a year ago. I have then since lost the wrapper, so I don't even remember the name, the colorway, any of that. I just know it's sock yarn, and I bought it at a big box store. It's pink and gray, figured it'd be perfect for socks. I have wound this ball probably 3 or 4 times because I have little kittens who love to run off with my yarn. Hence going to every project is now in a project bag because I got real tired of coming across wet yarn or yarn that was frayed because little kitten teeth got to it. So everything stays behind a zipper now. But I'm super proud. I started on double points. I figured that would be the way to go. It's super easy. No, double points are not for me. They are incredibly fiddly. So I went to using a circular and magic looping. For me personally, I think I'm gonna magic loop everything. Double points, I don't know if it's because I have small hands or what it is, but double points and me just don't mix so well. So I talked with some of the knitting, some of my friends in my knitting group, and one of them suggested using Addie's. So of course I went straight to Amazon. I found Addie's that had free shipping, so of course, you know, Amazon has that one-click checkout. So one click later, I had a pair of Addie's on the way to me. So I'm super excited. I love using them. I love the grip they have. The cord works really well with magic looping. I started using the simple Skype pattern, and that's how I got my cast on, and I started the ribbing. And I was having a ton of trouble with the ribbing and the purling. I haven't knit in a really, really long time because crocheting has kind of always been my go-to. So I had to wait until my mom got here so I could watch over her shoulder and see what I was doing wrong. So once my mom got here, I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. It was a simple, easy thing to fix. So I got my ribbing put on. And then instead of doing the pattern that the Skype sock calls for, since they're my first pair of socks, I figured I was just going to do them vanilla. So I'm doing straight stockinette until I get to the heel. And I think I may try to do a heel flap. If not a heel flap, I may try the afterthought heel. I haven't quite figured out which heel I want to go, so I haven't been working on these I haven't really been working on these a lot lately. So they've kind of been hanging out in this fabulous bag that I also sewed. And if you guys can't catch the theme yet, I'm a little obsessed with pandas. So I saw this, I was walking down an aisle at Walmart, and this fabric like almost jumped off the shelf into my cart. So I figured, of course, that had to be another project bag. And I just lined it with a real simple gray pattern. And Mom also put this zipper in for me. I have one more zipper, so I think I may try to do my next bag and put the zipper in because I don't know when I'll get to see my mom again. Unless Mom, you're watching, you want to come visit again and put in some more zippers for me, that would be awesome. But I also, and I'm going to work on some drawstring bags too, I think, because I have a couple friends that have suggested that they really like drawstring bags, so I'm kind of taking hints that they want some bags, and I'd be more than happy to make them for them. So that's kind of the next on the sewing. But I have one more knitting project, and this is probably my favorite knitting project right now. This one's just in a little simple cosmetic bag from Walmart. Nothing super special about it. But the project inside of it is super, super special. So I have a really good friend. We've never met in person, but I do call her probably my very best friend. We've known each other for about 8 years, and she also knits and crochets a lot, and she has gotten into dyeing and spinning her own fiber. And for Christmas, I was a super lucky recipient of some of her yarn. I sent her a message before I started recording, but I hadn't heard back from her yet. So I don't know the fiber makeup of this, but I know it has, I think it's Stellina, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it has some super sparkliness.
Probably one of my
favorite looks of hand spun, and I think it's working up fabulously. This pattern is my stripes and slouchy hat on Ravelry. I'm not doing the stripes, I'm just using the variegated hand spun all throughout. So I'm not gonna change it up too much, but it'll just be one yarn. And I don't know, I started this probably a few days ago, so even though I knit really slow, I feel like it's coming along fairly well. And my amazing husband actually listened to me and kind of got my hints, and he got me the Knit Picks interchangeable needles that are nickel plated. I love them. I don't know how else to explain them, but they're amazing needles. It's my first set of interchangeables, so I'm sure, you know, there's some other sets out there that are like, oh, these are better, but they're my first set. Completely in love with them. It made changing, you use a smaller needle for the brim because it's the knit 2x2 rib, and then when you start going into the stocking net for the rest of the hat, you switch and you go up a needle size. And it was so simple, just to unscrew the tips, you know, push the stitches back, unscrew the tips, screw the new tip on, and keep on knitting. I didn't have to worry about changing out a cable or any of that, so that was super nice. So that's kind of what all I've got going on right now. I still have a little while to go on the yarn, so I've got it balled up real nice here. So I've got that going on. So, and I've got so much stuff I want to make. I have so many patterns saved on Ravelry. My queue list is getting longer. There's just not enough time in the day. I really wish I could stay at home and knit and crochet all day. In a perfect world, that would happen, but for now, I guess I'll stick to knitting and crocheting in the evenings and on the weekend. But that's kind of what I've got going on. Like I said, with sewing, I want to make some more project bags. I've already got some more fabric picked out, and I'm super excited to get the sewing machine back out for that. So coming up, my next projects I want to work on. My friend Rachel, who is Love Knots on Etsy, she has some of her handspun yarn out there, and she's also a pattern designer. She's got some designs coming out soon that I am testing for her, so we'll be seeing some of those made up here. Hopefully by next week I will have the pattern I have to test for her done. So I've talked about a lot. I did a lot in 2014, so I kind of wanted to look at going into 2015. So my goals for this year, I'm sure this list, my goals for 2015 are going to kind of be a living list per se. I may take some off, I may add some. I'm going to also keep a written blog post on my blog to kind of where you can check in and see where I'm at on my goals. I'm not going to talk about my goals every episode, but I'm going to definitely kind of check back in every once in a while and kind of see where I'm at. So my goals for 2015, I made sure I wrote a very nice note for myself so I wouldn't forget anything I've been thinking about. So I really want to knit myself a sweater. I haven't knit in a really long time, and I think the 3 projects I have here are the first 3 projects I've knitted in probably 10 years. I hadn't picked up knitting needles in a while, but I really want to get back into it because there's some yarns that they're just so much easier to knit with, I think. Of course, I can crochet with about anything, like homespun. I can crochet with it, but it's a lot easier knitting with. It's the Lion Brand homespun. And this hand spun, since I love the look of the thick and thin, to me it kind of just turns out better being knitted. I also want to crochet or knit, craft at least 12 hats to donate. My sister is a RN at a hospital, so she gets to deliver cute little babies all the time, and so I am looking forward to knitting or crocheting up some hats to mail to her, so when she has babies born at the hospital, they can have handmade hats. My mom and sister also crochet those, but I really want to put in a number for myself so I can make sure I do better this year. I really want to work on designing my own pattern. I've noticed a lot here lately since I've crocheted for so long. I can look at a picture and get an inspiration for something else. So I may start with a pattern, but very rarely do I follow the entire pattern. So I think it'd be really cool just to kind of sit down with a skein of yarn and create something beautiful and be able to write a pattern for it. So that's another one of my goals. I also want to get more into spinning my own fiber. I had my wonderful friend Tish from Southern Girl Knits lent me one of her drop spindles and some fiber, and I've started working on that and I'm loving it. So I think that may kind of be another hobby I pick up this year, and I want to get out and purchase my own spindle. So hopefully here before too long y'all will be seeing me spinning some gorgeous fibers. I'm working on getting better with keeping up my Ravelry page. Here lately, around Christmas, I was able to get on and get everything updated. That's kind of how I was able to put together my list for 2014. But going into 2015, I want to make sure that everything that I work on has its own project page so I can keep up with everything. So far, I'm doing pretty good. Have 5 projects going on, and I think 3 of them may be on Ravelry. So I have a couple more to put on, and I'll be up to date with those as well. And then also I want to be more prepared for my booths this year. Like I said earlier, I have a little side business hobby with my family called Stitch Together 4G. You can find us on Facebook. I'll also link it from the blog if you want to go over there and see more projects that we've worked on as a family. And my goal is to at least do 3 or 4 booths this year. I was able to do 3 in 2014, so I'm going to stick around that point just so I don't overwhelm myself with getting prepared for booths. So I have that. I'm looking forward to that for this year, and I think my first booth I have a possibility of doing is probably in April. So I'll definitely get started on working towards that. So I'm excited that you guys are with me for my first podcast episode. This is kind of what I'll be doing each week. Maybe gonna try to not be so sporadic as I was this week with it being my first episode. I'm kind of glad y'all stuck around till now. If there's anything that y'all would like to hear about or want to hear me talk about, feel free to leave comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like, so I can make sure my next episode is more on point with what y'all are looking forward to. So I think that's all I have this week. I am going to try to record probably about Friday or Saturday with hopes of having up the podcast on Sundays of every week. So look forward to that. If for some reason my recording schedule gets a little mixed up, I'll definitely post it in the Ravelry group. So, and the link for that will also be on the blog at stitchingu, eweandmore.blogspot.com. So thank you for sticking around with me, and keep on stitching, y'all.